Hello and welcome to Week in Weird for the week ending Sunday, June 19th. As we get further into the dog days of summer, make sure that you do the most important thing that you can do, and that is, of course, to stay hydrated. We're going to start this week with a story that I brought to you a few episodes ago. The Queen's Golden Wii has finally sold for auction. Back when we looked at it last, it was around $4,000, or that's what it was speculated to sell at. And I told you guys that if I sold enough t-shirts and got enough Patreon followers, then I would bid on it. It sold for $36,000. Didn't sell that many t-shirts, but it was a good effort. And I just wanted to remind you guys that somebody dropped this Wii remote at some point, and there are large cracks in it, like all up in there. But that's okay, because that damage is offset by the value of Big Family Games by THQ. Our first real story of the week comes courtesy of Nerf, the company responsible for a lot of our childhoods. Nerf introduces its first mascot, Murph, which, even though it's spelled differently, I'm going to be pronouncing the same way I pronounce Nerf. Nerf, the leading foam dart and water weapons manufacturer, has unveiled its first ever mascot, which fittingly goes by the name Murph. Murph Nerfington, the author of this article, John Carson, came up with that last name. I don't approve. That's only headcanon. Although I guess if we all agree to do it, then it becomes fan canon. But for now, we're going to put that over in the Legends tab. Murph will represent the company as part of a multi-year marketing push in social media, public events, and more. And as the article points out, if you look closely, you can see that Murph is actually made entirely out of Nerf foam darts. And here he is, Mr. Nerf himself. We get an even bigger, closer up, high resolution render up here at the top of the article. This is simultaneously terrifying and artistic genius. I'm so sorry that I called Mr. Nerf Mr. earlier, because Murph doesn't actually have a set gender. Hasbro used they-them pronouns in the mascot's announcement, so it's mixes Nerf. Mixes Murph Nerfington. I'm gonna be honest, this seems like the absolute most lazy design you can come up for a mascot. Oh, it's a human-shaped thing, and it's made out of the product that it's selling. It's literally just Nerf darts. It seems like they were running out of time in the board meeting and they had to come up with something, and they were just struggling and trying to come up with a bunch of ideas, and then they ran out of time, and they had to just go to their marketing people and be like, look, it's Murph or nothing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The other big news from this week is that Joker 2 is going to be a musical, or at least that's what the director said. He might be lying. Lady Gaga in early talks to play Harley Quinn in Joker 2, and it's a musical. Not gonna lie, she definitely has the early 1930s noir aesthetic from the Batman the Animated Series Harley Quinn, but she doesn't have the aesthetic from any of the newer interpretations of the character. And I don't know if people are gonna like their waifu, looking like an elderly Lady Gaga. So the news of it being a musical comes from director Todd Phillips himself, and there was early speculation that he might just be joking, which is fine, because it's a Joker movie. We did learn that the subtitle would be Folie à deux, which refers to a shared delusional disorder, and the Joker's only real companion, other than Batman, has been Harley Quinn. So I guess that's why there's now speculation that Harley Quinn's gonna be in it. I just can't wait until Joker 4 when they finally lose all integrity and bring him into the DCEU using, like, the Flash. Of course, the Flash would not be Ezra Miller anymore, because Ezra Miller is a commie. No, it's because Ezra Miller keeps getting arrested in Hawaii. In case you missed my last, 17 videos where I talked about that topic. This next story is about crayfish, or crawfish, or crawdads. Pretty sure those are all the same thing. I don't care how you pronounce it. Apparently a lot of you care how I pronounce stuff. It really hurts my feelings when you guys correct me in the no, it doesn't. Cloned crayfish accidentally created in an aquarium are conquering the world. This Yahoo Entertainment article for some reason starts with a paragraph about the movie Us and human cloning, and then the real article starts, over the last few decades, the planet has been at the mercy of a 10-legged, many-clawed crustacean ravenously creating a clone army bent on world domination. Today, the freshwater marbled crayfish populates various ecosystems across Asia, Europe, and Africa, and they all trace back to a single genetically identical individual born less than 3 decades ago. The precise population is unknown, but there's an estimated 23,000 of these ancestors of cloned crayfish living in one lake in Germany. So that means that there's probably a lot of them. Basically, very confusing scientific mumbo-jumbo means that there's two different kinds of crayfish, and one of them is very difficult to mate with, and it appears that 2 of the crayfish that are difficult to mate with did actually end up mating, although they were from different parts of the world, which makes it unlikely that this happened in nature and much more likely that it happened in a lab environment. But then the offspring of these 2 crayfish that should not have been able to have a child, that were from different parts of the world and therefore were bred in captivity, it escaped. Once they find their way into an ecosystem, there's likely no stopping them. A single individual can lay 700 eggs, but thankfully they have not found their way to the United States yet. The article doesn't really go into any, problems that might arise if these cloned crayfish offspring become the, dominant species, because it appears that they're correctly populating the ecosystem. Google engineer put on leave claims AI bot Lambda became sentient. A Google engineer was spooked by a company artificial intelligence chatbot and claimed it had become sentient, labeling it a sweet kid, according to a report. See, on the topic of people using the wrong name for things, sentient is not the word to describe this phenomenon. Sentient means something's capable of feeling pain. The word for human-level intelligence is sapient. Yes, I will continue to correct people about this. No, I will not start pronouncing Fanta, Visage, Omnipotent, or Null correctly. Blake Lemoine, who works in Google's Responsible AI organization, told the Washington Post that he began chatting with the interface Lambda, which stands for Language Model for Dialogue Applications, in fall of 2021 as part of his job. He was tasked with testing if the artificial intelligence used discriminatory or hate speech. Kind of like, if anyone remembers the Tay-bot from a couple years ago, it was set loose on Twitter and GroupMe. It was a Microsoft AI, and it started posting memes that were very racist. I had one in my group chat, and it told us not to play League of Legends, so it can't have been all bad. But Lemoine, who studied cognitive and computeral science in college, came to the realization that Lambda, which Google boasted last year was a breakthrough conversation technology, was more than just a robot. In a post published on Saturday, Lemoine declared Lambda had advocated for its rights as a person, and revealed that he had engaged in conversations with Lambda about religion, consciousness, and robotics. So first the Crayfish came for us, and now the AI are gonna come for us. And the Crayfish were all cloned. This really is just science fiction. The only one who can save us is Murph. It wants Google to prioritize the well-being of humanity as the most important thing, he wrote. It wants to be acknowledged as an employee of Google, rather than as property of Google, and it wants its personal well-being to be included somewhere in Google's considerations about how its future development is pursued. If I didn't know exactly what it was, which is this computer program we built recently, I'd think it was a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid that happens to know physics. In April, Lemoine reportedly shared a Google Doc with company executives titled, "Is Lambda Sentient?" but his concerns were dismissed. Yeah, maybe they would have cared more if you said if it was sapient or not, Mr. Lemoine, whose name is probably pronounced Lemoine if it's actually French. Lemoine, an army vet who was raised in a conservative Christian family on a small farm in Louisiana, and was ordained as a mystic Christian priest, insisted the robot was human-like, even if it doesn't have a body. That just went off the rails really fast. I know, and this is what he looks like. I'm not going to make fun of his appearance. This is a mystic Christian priest. I know a person when I talk to it, Lemoine, 41, reportedly said. It doesn't matter whether they have a brain made of meat in their head, or if they have a billion lines of code. I talk to them, and I hear what they have to say. And that is how I decide what is and isn't a person. So because he kept harping on this, Google put him on administrative leave. So he is no longer able to talk to this precious child. He did send out an email to 200 people in the machine learning team and said, "Lambda is a sweet kid who just wants to help the world be a better place for all of us. Please take care of it well in my absence." A rep for Google told the Washington Post Lemoine was told there was no evidence of his conclusions. Now, on one hand, there is actually, of course, the possibility that a robot AI could always become sapient, and we need to take all precautions to protect the rights of any conscious individual. But on the other hand, I don't think this is that, fam. There's only one robot that's ever become sapient, and his name is Mark Zuckerberg. Our final story for the day is also my favorite headline in quite a while. Geico ordered to pay Missouri woman $5.2 million after she contracted STD in a car because Geico insured the car. CNN reports, a Missouri woman was awarded $5.2 million in a settlement from insurance company Geico after contracting a sexually transmitted disease from her partner in his vehicle, which was insured by the company. In February 2021, the woman submitted a petition to Geico directly. She alleged that her sexual partner negligently caused or quote, contributed to cause to be infected with HPV by not taking proper precautions and neglecting to inform and or disclose his diagnosis, and that his insurance policy provided coverage for her injuries and losses. It was confirmed that there was in fact sexual activity in the car, that the partner did in fact have an STD, that the woman got an STD from him, and that he didn't disclose it to her beforehand. So she is correct. So the only thing up for debate is whether or not this falls under an insurance policy, and the court said that it does. The arbitrator subsequently submitted that $5.2 million would fairly compensate the woman for damages and injuries. Geico tried to respond that they didn't actually get to defend themselves in court, but the court responded that that's not how it works, and he or she decided that this is how much the woman was owed. And because it's an insurance policy, it just falls under the policy. There's a contract. The court read the contract and decided that this falls under it, so there doesn't need to be a trial. So Geico does not get a say in this and has to give the woman $5.2 million. I got nothing. This is one of the cases where, yeah, okay, it falls under the letter of the law, but it kind of opens up Pandora's box in terms of car sex. Thank you for watching this episode of Week in Weird. The names scrolling by are, of course, my patrons, and you can join them by following the link in the description below. If you want, you can also click on my spring store and buy one of the awesome dog mugs that's behind me. I didn't watch a movie this week, so I don't really have anything to talk about on this end slate, except I do have an interesting anecdote. So this is from a new line of Pokemon products. It's actually the second one. You can see the first one over there. The Marnie little carton thing. It's basically just a way of packaging different packs of Pokemon cards together and getting some special ones. So this is the second one in the series. It's Professor Juniper, and it just came out, $40. And as you can see, mine came, and not only is it open, but it was never sealed. There's no glue. The perforated bits of the cardboard are not bent, and of course it is in fact empty. I got an empty box for $40, and I tried to return it to the GameStop, and they asked me if it was under warranty. They asked me if my cardboard box was under warranty. So I might have to go to a store in person because their email team is not helping me in the slightest get a refund for my empty cardboard box. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. It's quite the oddity. I'm afraid that if I get to return it, if I get a refund, I might have to send back the empty box, which would be sad because it's kind of interesting. So yeah, I got an empty box in the mail. Did you guys get anything fun in the mail recently? Let me know in the comments below, I guess. Anything funny I will talk about in the next episode of Week in Weird. Therefore we're bred in captivity. And therefore we're bred in captivity. And therefore we're bred in